we're going to move back to the agenda for the budget hearing for the amended road district budget. I'm calling this meeting to order. Is there any public comment on Walter Kazmierczak's proposed line item changes? Trustee McKenzie.
Any questions?
Okay. Well,
Can I make a presentation?
yeah, but I was asking for public comment first, so it's fine. Hearing none, I'm turning it over to you.
Yeah, I have to make several amendments to the budget.
And can you speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you?
I have to make several line item adjustments. Basically, I used, when we had the actuals that we used for the budget we passed on May 22nd, a lot of the figures I used were based on what we spent last year. The top one, equipment maintenance, we were very fortunate last year in only spending $62,500. During the course of the first 6 months of the fiscal year, we're approaching $60,000 already. Obviously, it's not going to last for the next 6 months. So I'm requesting $115,000. Hopefully, it'll be considerably under that. But you know, you have a half a year to go, and if you try to make it as close as that, we have problems now. You have to anticipate that you may spend that much in the second half of the fiscal year. The major reason that we have such high maintenance bills for equipment is that, with the exception of a dump truck, an excavator, and a pickup, all within the last 2 years, this entire large list is considerably older. Most of our pickup and dump truck vehicles are 2006, 2007, 2008, and a lot of those are bought used as opposed to buying new things. So, and even with bobcats and excavators and things of that nature, they're generally not a recent purchase. It's all before 2010. We're using some things that, well, on 1999, we're using a generator. So, you know, that's, the older these items become, the more likely that you have expensive repairs. Then going down the list, and this is somewhat in conjunction with the resolution that we're going to discuss later on about the sale of surplus township highway department property. We're going to, when we pick up a vehicle from the computer auction service that we use, you know, we're responsible for the transport. The $1,000 figure was, you know, not realistic, given the fact that we obtained quite a bit of new equipment, not new equipment, new used equipment, I'd call it. It had to be transported from out of state to our office in Reddick. So as a consequence, we're way over budget right now on those rentals, and we're going to recoup that once we sell them at a higher price. And it's a type of, since it's not a federally sponsored auction, you can have a quick turnaround on the sale. You don't have to wait 18 months. But you do have to pay for the transport to get them into your garage and yard. The tree removal and spraying, you know, when the bills hit in September, we're going to be over the $15,000 mark. We've already cut down 30 trees. And it's important to do that because, you know, aside from dead trees create insect problems, and then they're somewhat contagious, you know, when you got Dutch elm disease and everything else. Tree replacement program, it's very expensive. $1,000 wasn't a realistic number. And remember, a lot of these were reduced from what was in the budget last year. Increased that to 5,000. Definitely the small tools and equipment will be over $10,000 shortly. We're asking for $20,000 for that, given the fact that the fiscal year is only half over. Then parts for trucks, supplies, that's not as extreme, but to be on the safe side, it would be, I think, important to raise that amended budget amount by $5,000 to $27,000. And this other last item, the engineering services, you know, prior to, the previous auditor and previous budgets, we were always taking the engineering fees that the public pays or that the utilities pay and lessening the amount of engineering services. So, we were the conduit. Homeowner builds a garage, they have to have engineering service to make sure that it's compliant and they have the proper permits. Let's say it was $500, the amount of the engineering service would charge. Well, they can't pay that to the engineering service themselves, or they have to pay it to us, and then we reimburse the engineering service. Before, we used to deduct that, but the auditor says we can't do that anymore. It has to go into other income set of circumstances. So, a lot of this looks like it is a huge increase from 30 to 60,000, but off in the income section, a lot of that is being reduced because we get some of that money back that we give to the engineering service. I think I've mentioned that in the past. And Carrie Lynn, a while back, said that unlike the town hall fund or the township fund, the road commissioner can have a road improvement fund without board approval. And I attached I don't know if you want to call it a wish list, or what we'd like to accomplish over the next 3 years in terms of what streets we want to do and approximate the cost based on square footage or yardage and how much we're going to be trying to pay. And that doesn't even include sidewalks and curbs. So these figures that you see on that sheet are only reflective of the cost of road replacement. And having a fund like that would help in case we're over budget or the bids are high. We can dip into that $400,000 over the course of this year and the following 3 fiscal years, fiscal budgets that I'm going to be responsible for. I think that would be a good use of the fund. And that's essentially the reasoning behind how and why I did these things. If the board has any questions, I can try and answer.
I think Trustee McKenzie had a first question, and then Trustee Carroll.
Well, my first question has to do with getting the $420,000 of projected costs from you this evening. So I did not get a chance to review this before, and that's a lot of money with no documentation except for this one sheet. And I'd like to know who prepared this sheet so that I can ask questions of that person.
Well, it was basically the...
I thought that doesn't need board approval, or does it?
Well, she can ask about how these figures came up with.
But are you seeking board approval on that?
Well, no, I'm not going to say that we have to follow this for the next 3 years. This is just an example of how that $400,000 road improvement fund can be spent. We're not voting on these particular projects.
But we're not voting on this?
No, we're only...
Do you have it in your...
Yeah, I had it in the packet, but I wanted to show you what our plans are for the future. We're not actually, in terms of what streets we do, that isn't even a board function. And, only the dollar amount is approval or disapproval. So, these streets, this is just an example of how the funds could be used. And there'll be a line item for road maintenance. And this 400,000 can cause us to do more streets. If there are cost overruns, the dip into that to cover some costs.
And this is a document we actually prepared at our suggestion, because most road districts have like kind of a list of what their projects are expected to be, so that when they come to the board can understand kind of what road projects are out there.
Do we need to teach trustees how to read the papers?
Okay, so, I did have public comment. I have to teach everybody at public comment. I know, trustee McKenzie's not finished, and then we'll allow public comment.
Okay, the $400,000 is listed as a line item in this amended budget, in this ordinance. So are you saying we can cross that out?
No, this piece of paper with the streets on it is not being voted on.
That's not what
And these
she's
are just
asking.
estimates.
She's asking this piece.
So right now, the $400,000 are funds that he already has that aren't accounted for in his budget.
Yeah, just
He has the ability, just like you created a capital fund, he had this money out there, but it wasn't accounted for in the budget. He doesn't need board approval to create the fund, but he needs board approval to get it in his budget.
So I just need to understand, why is this road improvement projects added to this amended budget? It was not in the original budget.
No, but it can't say anything as the capital fund for the township fund was not part of the original budget either.
So my question is it part of what we're supposed to be considering?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So he's asking that you include the $400,000 in his budget for capital improvement, like basically a capital improvement fund, but it's a permanent road fund for the road district. And then he knew you guys were going to ask, well, why are we putting that money in your budget? And so generally, road districts have a list of upcoming projects to kind of show you. I mean, one road improvement project can cost $400,000. So he wants the money in his budget to be able to go ahead and start working on the different projects and kind of set up what you guys set up for unexpected capital projects that might come up.
And they won't be in this year's budget, they'll be in subsequent budget.
So it is not going to be considered in this amended budget for this year.
The 400,000 will be established, that's all that's being done.
Right.
Line item.
And it's a line item.
That would give him the ability to potentially expend out if there's something that came up, but he doesn't necessarily have to. If any expenditures came up, they'd have to move it forward.
And this is an example, this sheet.
Yeah,
is an
right.
example of how
This is
to do it.
projected cost.
But there's no projects that you're working
Well, no,
on.
we've just done the sidewalk and curbs.
But that's already in the budget.
Yeah, it's already in the budget, right?
He was to give him the line.
It's more of an accounting transfer, just like putting the capital projects where the township was.
Trustee McKenzie.
You said that. Can I ask anyone questions?
No, I didn't say.
Can I just, there are only 4 line items that actually have gone over budget to date.
Okay, but it's only 6 months into the fiscal year. I'm sure at a later date, those extra 3 would probably go over. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul, but if it does, you want to have some ability to pay those bills. Because, as it's been repeated here, once you reach the budget item limit for a certain line item, you technically shouldn't pay any bills after that. Because unless you transfer funds or whatever. And this is something else, this is an amended budget. Like, for instance, the equipment supplies and parts, well, it hasn't reached the number of 22,000, but it's a reasonable assumption that it might. And I'm going to at least address address that possibility and add sufficient funds so we don't have to do this in December or November or whatever. You might reach that level.
Okay, but did you look, Molly, at all the line items where you have, 72% left of the expenditure, the budgeted
Oh, yeah.
number, 100% of the item? I mean, none of it has been spent.
Well, yeah, but a lot of that seasonal, you're not gonna use the snow supplies in August, but it will be used. And a lot of that seasonal, but you're not gonna have, permanent, the general town fund for labor won't be used until the winter season. So that's extremely high, if not 100%. So, a lot of this stuff is seasonal. We don't have the road maintenance done yet because we haven't received any bills, but that number will not, it shows 100%, but not for long. In next month's bills, there'll be a considerable portion of that spending.
Well, I want to direct your attention to the line item office supplies, and the amount is budgeted for $1,500, and you still have $1,258 left, or 84%.
Okay.
You use office supplies, let me just finish. You use office supplies during the entire year, correct? That's not seasonal?
Not yet. No.
Okay, and then line item right underneath that for office equipment, that which was budgeted for $5,000, and you have $4,781 left, or 96%. And I would say office equipment is also not something seasonal, correct?
Correct. Now, that still could be used over the course of a year. And secondly, those are small items. When you start talking about engineering fees and road maintenance and equipment maintenance, those are big ticket items. That's what you should be, everybody should be concerned about.
Right.
Well, let me direct your attention to a big ticket item, and that is under the maintenance salary expense. And it's budgeted for $145,000, and the entire $145,000 has not been spent.
Okay, because that is seasonal. It's paid during the winter months. The mid-December through the mid-March, that's when you have the overtime for snow removal. Every single dollar that's spent on labor comes out of that fund in those winter months. So we can't spend it now. That's why it's 100%.
There's many items that have 90, 80, 67, 70% unspent.
Okay, so what does that mean in conjunction with this? Some of that stuff can't be transferred, they're in different funds. It's not.
But Molly, I mean.
Okay, so I think we're probably,
Okay.
no, I'm saying, I'm not calling the
Trying to
question. I'm
discuss why.
just saying,
Problems with that.
I understand, I think he gets it, but I think we're going around in circles.
Because a lot of this stuff can't be spent. The permanent road fund labor can't be
I'm
spent.
trying to get,
That's okay, no,
So you get
no,
them in.
no, Claire's done that.
Trustee Carabota.
Back on, going through May, we passed this budget May 22. The debates went on about road and bridge. On road and bridge, Wally, you were looking for a 2% increase. We are looking for a 10% cut. The bottom line compromise is we agreed to keep your budget level to what it was last year, about $1.89 million. And now we fast forward to August 28th, and we're looking for this additional money. We addressed all these issues back on May 22. We made it real clear that if something came up, as we did with every other fund, all the funds, each of the funds, that if something comes up, you can come back to the board. Now we're coming back to the well again. It's just my position that these budgets look like they don't mean anything, and if we're going to applaud spending more taxpayers' money, then we applaud spending more taxpayers' money. I really think that sitting here and going, well, maybe if and then, we might as well have just passed the 2% increase that you wanted back on May 22, which wasn't justified then. The increase isn't justified now. But if you push back on this spending, you take it in the teeth. So my thing is this, Walter, you gave your word, May 22, you keep your budget level, you come back to us if there was suddenly something that happened that was a big storm or something, but your budget's level to last year. without a cut. So I was very, very disappointed to see this request for additional money. And, you know, I think it's somewhat disingenuous. And I think it does need pushback from auditors, which is what we are as trustees. Thank you all.
Let me say one thing. You want to talk about emergency? Well, perfect example. What are we going to do? We're going to leave a truck on the side of the road because it doesn't run?
We addressed all that. We addressed all that on May 22. We addressed it on May 10th. We addressed it on April 24th.
No, he's saying if the emergency happens, like then we have to have a board meeting for him to move the truck.
If there's a big hype to go ahead and increase budgets and spend more money because maybe, just maybe, something's going to happen, even though you have a number of line items also, and we've been through this, we spent hours and hours on this. But if you want Maine Township to jump up and kick up its budgets, that these budgets really don't mean anything, well, and that's how I'm seeing it. And I understand, maybe from your perspective, this is a very sincere thing. But where does it stop? And I'm just saying that right now, this, again, is something that myself individually, spending your money, I really don't think it's the right way to go.
But this is little. I'm getting criticized on one level for not spending enough because the line item percentages are way out of whack for half a year. And on the other hand, I'm getting criticized for going over on certain line items. And what could be an emergency any more than having old vehicles that are not running and have to be repaired?
You're back to the level seeking your 2% increase. That's what you're back to the level.
Oh, you think I purposely gutted a motor so we could have higher?
No.
So,
But I'm saying you covered all this less than 3 months ago.
okay, but you apparently repairing equipment is an emergency, no matter how often it happens. This business with the sweeper, that was expensive. 2 trucks broke down in 1 week recently. We have to repair that stuff. And I have this list here. I think a lot of you probably, it was probably given at one point in time this year, of the age of our equipment. Yeah, sure, we have a couple of newer vehicles, but the vast majority are from the mid-2000s. They have a higher expense ratio in terms of repairs than something that was purchased last year. It's not somebody's trying to pad a budget or do some kind of geeky stuff with numbers. These are actual expenses. And I don't see, on one hand, I don't spend enough because 84% of certain line items don't spend. And here, something is going over, and that's bad too. Office supplies or equipment, those are relatively small ticket items as opposed to some of these major ones like road maintenance and equipment maintenance. I don't know, this figure that you keep referring to, I took that 1.95 million kicking and screaming because I know this would happen. And it has happened.
Specifically, we're set that.
And, they said if there was that doesn't mean it has to be, some kind of end of the world event. It's just that these particular equipment maintenance problems were on the scene. We got by with $62,500. Everybody wanted the same amount of money spent. Well, that was the amount of money spent last year. This year is a whole different story.
All right, so we really do have to start the regular meeting. So I'm going to, I'm sorry. And what motion is it that you want, Wally?
Well, the motion that these changes in the budget be approved, that the amended budget be approved with the road improvement.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to have the Maine Township Highway Department budget amended as per the road commissioner's layout of what you just said, as well as making a line item for the road improvement fund.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none.
I know, he needs the money.
Did you want public comment?
Yes,
Okay.
actually.
Can you step up to the podium and say your name and tell us your public comment?
My name is Lydia Shu Feducci. I live in Maine Township for 27 years. Plus, I enjoy being there. Highway Department commissioners do a splendid job. I will never get up out of my driveway in the winter without them. It's impossible. They plow my street. I am on a ¼ acre of the land. Mosquitoes, thank you very much, today, and everybody can feel it. Without them, that is impossible. And who is going to represent me? I am Maine Township. There is no one, no city is representing me. Maine Township.
And you're on our planning commission too, correct?
How can I claim? And they don't even count 6 times 7. Well, if you can answer that for another 10 hours. My bottom line is, we have to be together to make sure, like I said, to clean the street. There is no Niles who's gonna clean the street. They have a certain portion. There is no Park Ridge. If you ever look in a map, did you? We are actually surrendered. And certain part of us, on Emerson, for example, there was just unbelievable water. And Mr. Prevanzano, way back there, without asking for any money of anybody, we've done it ourselves. We were digging. We need money for this guy because there's no way those rats is going to just disappear. It's just impossible, and we know it. And that there is no way you can have anybody actually to go attack and spray portion of your lawn, whatever the easement is, to get mosquito out.
Lydia, I got it. 1 minute. 1 minute left.
I'm done. Just pay attention.
He needs the money, yes.
All right, I'm gonna call the question. Clerk Jalamas, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moran.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
No.
Trustee Carabota.
No.
Trustee Sweet.
No.
All right.
Can we have a vote?
Failed. All right, now I'm going to adjourn the Highway Department's budget hearing and call finally our regular meeting to order. Motion to adjourn the road district's budget hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
Clerk Jalamas, can you call the roll?
Supervisor Moran.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
Trustee Carabota.
Yes.
Trustee Sweet.
Yes.